one. Got with me here, Alex Dunn. You may not know him, but you know his work. He played the guitar outro for the first 113 episodes of the show.
That's right. Thanks for having me, Tiger.
Yeah, let's scoot that sucker
Get
up
that a little
right
closer.
about there.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you move back, just kind of carry it with you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, how goes it, man?
It's good, man. Odd times you're going through, but I have optimism that we'll see it through to better days.
Yeah. Right before we kind of went on air, I offered you a CBD joint. You said you've been smoking less. For any reason? Like your lungs start hurting or just...
No, just clarity of mind.
Yeah.
Going to university here for psychology this fall.
Really?
And so I'm just trying to, keep my mental psyche in check and
Nice.
just stay as productive as
Have you
possible.
So have you gone already to any classes? Like, do you know any of the teachers by chance?
Yeah, I've virtually met with a couple of them.
Nice.
They seem like really cool people.
Yeah, I had
really
two people. I
intelligent.
had this grad student called Allison Maddock on the show. She was a psychology postgrad, and then Dr. Nick Allen, who I think's the digital psychology guy there. So it's funny. I was like, have I had one of your teachers on the show by chance? That'd be awesome.
That would be cool. I mean, it is a small town after all.
It is a small town,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have a OSU professor come on Wednesday or something in a couple days.
Nice,
But
nice.
because I'm doubling up every day, like the episodes don't come out day of; they come out like within a day or two of the episode. But I'm keeping them in chronological order again. So yeah, what have you been up to, man? You've been playing guitar, or just
Been playing guitar, trying to stay as musically influenced as possible. Trading off ideas with friends through texts and voice memos, and working and just trying to stay as productive as possible.
yeah.
Yeah.
Flatlining and like doing nothing for a certain amount of time. Did you at any point in the pandemic just like completely just have a lot of free time and almost fall into a pit of like, whoa, too much free time is like not always a good thing?
Musically, yes, there was a point where I got completely detached. Like I kind of lost sense of creativity, but it eventually kind of came back to me, and it has at this point, I'd say so.
Nice.
But yeah, again, it's been weird times we've been going through, and I feel like when I notice people around me, there's all different kinds of emotions. I notice frustration, kind of uneasiness, and anger and confusion. And I feel like those emotions are just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, we just had someone on yesterday who watched a lot of like news, like left and right wing news. And I'm like, why do you do that? You're supporting them by watching them. And he's like, because you got to stay informed. I'm like, do you though? And he's like, well, I like arguing with people when I'm drunk. And I'm like, I really think people like being angry, and I think that's kind of the basis of why people care so much about all this stuff. It's like they need some reason to be outraged, like their life isn't going super well, or for whatever reason they just want like almost a direction to like focus their rage and be like, that's why.
Well, it's easy to be angry.
It is.
I think so, and I think hate. It's not very clever.
Yeah.
I think really if we're gonna see ourselves through this, we really do have to come to terms with the fact that we both have sidewise different perspectives, opinions, but the most important thing is meeting in the middle.
Yeah.
Because there's no other way around that.
I mean, but sometimes some sides are right. See, I'm normally like that. For the longest time, I was like, man, generally if there's like two sides of something, the middle's the right way. Mm-hmm. And I got there because I like would watch one side and I'd be really convinced. I'd watch the other side, I'd be really convinced. I'm like, man, I go back and forth so much that I just don't even have an opinion anymore. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, sometimes radical opinions are needed. Like if you really look at like the situation that the world's in, like super boring, monotonous, slow changes, like that's like the center of everything, may not get us where we need to go in time for certain things. And I'm like, at some extent, I think radical change may be needed in the near future, especially with like, hey, a lot of fish are dying and being overfished. Like you can't just like, oh well, let's just fish 5%. Is
that the Seaspiracy?
I never even watched it,
you
but just like, have you?
It's really insightful, actually.
I don't want to be depressed for an hour, man.
I know,
but like the whole thing is like,
a bit grim.
In that, there's no like middle ground between like, no, let them fish a ton and we need to stop fishing. It's like, no, we probably should stop fishing, like, or at least that direction toward things. If anything, I don't understand pescatarians. I would rather go no fish but still eat like beef and chicken rather than no beef and chicken and pork but eat fish. Like fish is the worst one of all of them.
Okay, let me touch on that.
Yeah.
So when you say you don't want to eat fish, that's fine. I love fish. It's actually like my go-to for protein.
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot of nutrients in fish.
Oh yeah.
Omega-3s.
Good for you.
But when you eat meat and such as beef, what kind of meat? Like, what's the quality of the meat? Is it locally derived? Is it from Oregon?
It's usually grass-fed from Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
But that might not be local, and it's always in plastic packaging. Like, every single thing at Trader Joe's, if you go there, is, like, sometimes even double packaged in plastic, where I'm like, Trader Joe's, you're literally that close to being, like, the super eco-conscious grocery store, but then they just fuck it up with how much plastic they use.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, for me, whenever I walk down the meat aisle, we were just speaking about this a little while ago.
AKA the gay club.
Or even drive down the street and past fast food restaurants. I think about the quality of the meat that they're serving and what's actually in that meat.
Oh, I have so much self-guilt when I get a Crunchwrap Supreme. Like, I just, like, fall down and I'm like, I'm just starving. What am I going to get? Kenzie's a better person than me. She at least gets it with the black beans. But then in some way, you're still supporting Taco Bell. So it's like, it's no different. How much better are you really being? But it's like, I mean, so do you ever, like, falter, give up, and just eat the shittiest meat ever?
No. Actually, not recently. In fact, the reason why I stopped eating fast food is just because it made me feel terrible. Mm-hmm. I mean, not just, like, ethically, but also just nutrition-wise. Yeah. There's just nothing in it.
Nothing.
It's just trans
but
fats.
But taste-wise, I don't think there's trans fats.
It tastes good.
I don't think trans fats are legal in the U.S. anymore.
Really?
I am almost positive that about 6 years ago, they made it so you can't serve anything with trans fats in it. Could be wrong on that. And we'd have someone Google it, but my computer's already running way too hot. Literally last night, I took a screenshot of it because it was running at 99 degrees Celsius. I'm like, you convert it over. It's literally like 210 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm like, this can't be good for it. Like, I know the metal isn't going to melt, but, like, the batteries have got to get hurt. So I'm trying to baby the computer a little bit.
Yeah. What's concerning to me is the concentration, what is it, the...
dark matter.
Concentration animal feeding operation.
Yeah.
Concentrated animal feeding operations is, you know, you have all these really depressed animals that are shoved into really small spaces. They're filled up with steroids and antibiotics to prevent bacteria from spreading. And those facilities turn into petri dish for viruses.
Depressing. What's your favorite TV show? I'm kidding.
And it's really concerning, to me. And it's like something I really don't want to support. And every single time we go down the meat aisle, and you know, the big four meat packing industries like Tyson and J&M, I believe, there's two of them. You know, it reaches 90% of our stores.
Wow.
And so I think it's really important to figure out where's the meat coming from, and it's all about quality over quantity. You
know, a more convincing way to talk people into, like, stopping doing this, you should carry a gun around.
Oh,
anytime you see someone, just, like, hold it at them, like, this is what you're doing to the environment, motherfucker.
Well,
and then you holster it. No, don't eat this kind of meat again. Then you walk. It would leave an impact on people rather than, like, sitting them down and being like, imagine being that pig. Imagine the petri dish that it's causing. Like, a gun would really impact people's opinions. They'd be like, whoa. I'm hurting Mother Nature by doing this. No more Taco Bell.
Yeah, speaking of Mother Nature, this coronavirus is kind of a consequence.
You're so funny. You literally, before the show, you're like, I don't want to touch on anything controversial.
Well, I knew it was
and you bring up, you're like, let's go politics, let's go factory farming, and then coronavirus. I'm like, man, we can talk about literally anything. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been 8 minutes.
It's been 8 minutes.
It's been only 8 minutes, man. I knew it was going to happen.
So funny. And again, before the air, when you're like, I don't want anything controversial, I told you I was going to ask you, what's your opinion on trans kids getting vaccinated in Afghanistan right now as the triple doozy? Okay. Obviously, there's no even opinion we're having on that.
Who am I to say who you want to be, first
you're
of all?
You're actually going to tackle them all?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're talking about trans, I believe that anybody should feel the way they feel about themselves and express themselves that way. I had a trans coworker who isn't working with us any longer. I think they had some other things going on. But, you know, it's...
The correct answer for a thing like that is a Pulp Fiction quote, man, I don't even have an opinion. That's the correct answer. When someone asks you a purposefully charged question, that there's no... Like, you could be so rational, but the other person has, like, hundreds of hours of CNN or Fox News or their friend pumping through their brain, and you have, like, 2 minutes to try to change their mind. You're working against hundreds of hours of programming. I'm like, just don't have an opinion. Just, like, lead a life. And just, like, if, like, topic gets brought up, just, like, laugh about it and have fun and be nice. But I'm like, I think purposely trying to okay, what brings this up is yesterday I had a pretty right-leaning friend on the show. Love the guy. But at the end of it, I was like, I want to go, like, take COVID more seriously because of the fact that he didn't. And he's like, I don't know, man. I swear to God, every time I'm put in front of someone who's like really politically like pushing something on me, an agenda, makes me want to go the opposite way. And maybe I'm unique with that.
The fight or flight mechanism kind of kicks in.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's the beauty behind really connecting with people with different values and belief systems is, hate isn't very clever. It doesn't get us anywhere. It just kind of divides us, which we've been noticing a lot these days with vaccines and all of that. And I just have faith in scientists and experts who know what they're talking about. And I mean, I've been vaccinated for like almost 5 months now.
Yeah.
I mean,
and look at you.
The first
You're
shot.
falling apart. You're like a leper over here. I'm kidding.
and the first shot for me was really exhausting. I mean, I was fatigued and I had to sleep for, longer hours than usual. Second one was a breeze.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that was...
I'm just throwing it right there.
It's just for the better of the good. It's just for the future. And I think it's just one step towards getting through it. And I think another one is to consider, well, where are these viruses coming from?
Yeah.
Wet markets in Wuhan, China.
Or labs.
It's cruelty of animals.
Yeah.
Locking them up in cages and putting them right next to each other, exposing themselves to...
And that's just the Karen that lives down the road.
Yeah.
So many people who own animals, like, literally just kind of keep them in a cage, and they're like, that's okay. That's fine. I'm like, no.
I mean, I just had my cats around the garden before I came over here.
Yeah.
So
That's the
animals
way
love to roam around. They belong outside, and they don't belong in dark, facilities that are all crammed and, they're covered in their own feces. It's kind of a grim topic, but I thought I'd just touch on that.
Like, we have a HEPA in here and a HEPA in that room. And, like, most people with an animal or two in their house have no HEPA and, like, leave their windows closed. I'm like, that's poor air quality. Like, people have, like, literally directly correlated, like, how well people do on tests and how well people's cognitive level is to how clean the air that they're breathing is.
Right.
Like, after some forest fires, HEPA's got installed in the schools. And, like, not in forest fire season, they kept them running. And literally through all grade levels, their test scores improved just from having and breathing cleaner air.
That makes sense.
So I'm like, if anything, that's a good thing to gift people.
Yeah, air quality's essential. Good air quality, I mean. Essential.
And we're pretty lucky here. It's funny in Oregon, or in Eugene, Oregon specifically, it's like we get the best of it all year round, and then we literally get the worst of it for like 1 month or whenever fire season comes.
Remember last year?
Yeah. We get literally the best and the worst.
The sky was red.
Red.
It was like the apocalypse.
I know. I ended last show. The guy kept kind of talking, and I was like, oh my God, I lit a fire somewhere that I forgot about. I like just left it unattended. And then like after I said, I'm like,
wait, you did?
Yeah. But I didn't. It was just like, it was literally just an out for the episode. And I'm like, man, what if a forest fire starts like in the next couple days? And that would just be the worst juju ever to put out. So again, formally, I did not ever light a fire in the last like month. I swear to God, except for the CBD joints, which I've been lighting on the show.
Yeah.
But in terms of actual fires, I'm like, early spring's like campfire season, chilling. It is so fucking dry out lately, man.
It is, man. We're going through a drought, and you've been seeing those pictures that I've been sending you about Cottage Grove Reservoir.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Do you live close to that? I thought you lived on like...
I live in town, but I've just been doing landscaping for a client.
I thought you lived at your exact address.
No,
just live on air.
I've been doing some landscaping for a client in Cottage Grove and helping her out with her 7-acre property.
Nice.
Which I think would be really cool to hold events on.
Oh, yeah.
It's just beautiful out there.
That'd be a dream.
But, yeah, I'm waiting for some rain. Looking forward to it.
Badass. Before we started airing, because we have a guitar there and we have 2 guitars out there, we should have just like come up with like a rhythm and just like put the mics on the guitars for a minute. That would have been fun. Next time you come on, we should absolutely do that if you're down.
Yeah, let's collab, man.
I mean, you probably know how to just jam on a chord progression really quickly. We're not going to do it this time, but next time, that'll be a blast. Because again, daily episodes, I'm going to be having like people who are just chill on like once a month or however often. But yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to being on this show, man. I mean, you invited me on a while ago, and I was like, I don't really know what to talk about.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like lately, now it's like adding cameras to it. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to be on camera. They're just okay being on microphone. And then other people are like, oh, with Delta, I don't want to come on. And then like other people are just like, well, yeah, what's the topic of conversation? I'm like, it's a conversation. Do you like have a topic for everyone? Yeah. So I'm like, just a weird amount of like people are bailing because of Delta, and I get it. Eugene is so bad right now that I'm like, honestly, it's really valid, especially if like their whole like they're a boss or they're an employee and like their whole organization's like don't fucking do anything with anyone right now. I get it. But yeah. Alex Dunn, give a quick intro to who you are now that we're like what 20 minutes into the show.
Who am I?
Yeah.
My name's Alex Dunn, and I like to play music. I like sounds a lot. I like school a lot.
Nice.
And Tiger is a very good friend of mine.
If I had a fart when you're like, I like sounds, just rip ass. You like that sound? Good thing we're going to do that someday. We're going to lock up the window. We're going to turn the heat on and have it like be 110 degrees. And we're going to be eating like lentils or spaghetti the day before. We're just going to rip and see how uncomfortable we can make the guests. We'll wear like garbage bags like, oh, you came underdressed. I mean, yesterday with the Pope outfit, someday we'll just, like wear robes. We're easing into fucking with guests on the show, but like, I mean, like someday I'll just dress up really nice, but I'll tell the guest, oh, it's just like a super casual thing. Come over like way under there. She'll be in like a nice like dress, and I'll be like, this is embarrassing for you. What are you gonna do? Go home and change? We're already live. But
it's
yeah.
not live,
Anyways,
by the way.
it's not live.
No.
But anyways, you like sounds? Yeah, we've known each other for like 3 or 4 years now. Oh my God, we met up in Corvallis when we both lived in Corvallis.
I didn't actually live in Corvallis. I was doing petitioning at the time in Corvallis.
For star voting?
No, I think it was for the
mushrooms.
No, it
Those
was
are the two
for.
petitions I signed up there.
Gosh.
If only it was for star voting.
Basically, it was preventing or stopping the importation of animals in their parts. Was one of them, and I forgot the other. It sounds bad, but. Like, rhino horns and like the black market items that, you know, again, it's all, I feel like this topic that we're having.
Big animal guy, man.
Yeah, no, I'm all about animals, man. It's just basically stop cruelty to animals.
Yeah.
And definitely to each other.
Yeah. To people's a big one. I mean, Kenzie and I just yesterday saw like a video of someone walking down Philadelphia, and I'm like, we have bigger problems to fry than like these like little like fine-tuned things of like, oh, like, I mean, obviously like animal cruelty is a big thing, but it's literally like hundreds of people that are out of their minds. Like they need one-on-one help to get out of this situation. And it's like,
no, we need mental health facilities again, man.
And we need cities to disperse. Like cities should not exist. Seeing them, and like, I mean, we spent one weekend, 2 nights in Portland. It was traumatic. I was like, what the fuck? I never would live in a big city. Because, like, you go out at night.
My parents are in Seattle right now, and they're like, it is crazy up here. So they just took a ferry to an island. I forgot what it's called. You remember The Ring, that movie?
No.
You don't remember The Ring?
I never watched Lord of the Rings.
No, The Ring is like a horror movie.
Oh, no, we don't watch horror movies.
I don't either anymore. There's already enough crazy stuff going on these days.
Yeah, that's funny, man. You made a big mental health shift in your life. You started mind clarity, less smoking, and no more horror movies. What was your peak? Did you just like, were you just sitting there like really anxious about nothing, and you're like, oh, maybe it's all the input of horror movies and like stuff like that? Because like I get that feeling if I start to watch like news or anything negative. I'm like, why do I feel like something's wrong in the universe?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, my adjustments to what I'm doing happened at different times. I think it was just a personal choice for me to stop smoking weed because it just felt like it was fogging me up and it was kind of doling me down to like my fullest potential.
It wasn't helping your craft.
Not really. Yeah. I felt like it was just, again, doling me down. And the fact that I'm going to university and I'm going to be taking a lot of classes, I'm working a part-time job, like I just have to have like my mind on par to like really succeed in that.
What are you going to do with a psychology degree?
I'm still exploring that. And
psychoanalyze people.
I know. I told a guy at work there, he's like, so what are you studying at school? And I was like, psychology. And he's, well, I'm not talking to you anymore.
What?
I don't know. I thought it was funny.
That is funny.
But, yeah, where were we?
What are you doing with it? Like, what would make you say, I'm going to go spend, like, essentially thousands of dollars to get a degree?
Yeah.
Like, do you have, like, some light at the end of the tunnel where you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get the degree and do this? Or
yeah, I'm going to network with people. I mean, maybe down the line, like, teach. Nice. Maybe start my own practice, potentially.
Teaching. Easiest, most overpaid job ever, right? You get summers off. You get to leave at, like, 4.
Yeah.
Easy. You get complete power over, like, tons of people.
And also, just genuinely, I just find people really interesting and how the brain works, and especially with politics these days too, like, all that. So yeah,
I wouldn't want to be a teacher. It'd be way too much like impact over like a bunch of students. Like one of them reaches out to you in 20 years, they're like, "Oh, my life's going really well." It's like, what about those other 300 students I had that year that they didn't do well? I'm like, oh man, like. I don't want to have that big of an impact on people's lives where it's like a direct one-on-one, like you're teaching them stuff. You're in many ways directing them. It's like, whoa, who's responsible enough to and like good enough of a position in life to have that level of power or control or whatever it is, specifically over kids, or like I guess you'd be a college professor.
I mean, yeah, potentially. Also, I just think in general, how can I be useful? Like, how can I actually be useful? And, I've attempted finding counselors in the past, even with this pandemic, because I just want someone to talk to, really.
Yeah.
Honestly. And it's really hard to find a counselor. Like, there's a huge demand for counselors these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then you probably go through like 3 or 4 who are just horrible until you find one that's
I can't even find one these days. Yeah, I think they're all completely packed up with clients.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not realize it was that bad right now.
Yeah.
Fuck. Everyone's mental health is just literally hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I feel like, studying psychology is really therapeutic. I can be my own counselor and be like, okay.
That's the way to do it.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hypothetically, everyone like should be at least some form of their own counselor, because it's like, is counselor an interchangeable word for therapist? I may have it wrong.
They're basically the same thing, in my opinion.
Or some people call them like shrinks or something like that. Yeah.
They're interchangeable, I think.
Yeah. Have you ever tried BetterHelp? A podcast I listen to has that as an ad all the time. It's like one of those sex lines, but it's literally a therapist on the other side of the line. It's literally like you pay per minute, much like a sex line, but it's like a therapist who will just talk to you. And Tim Dillon has an ad for it every single show, and he always makes fun of it. But I'm like, probably helps a lot of people. BetterHelp. Call it today.
Yeah, sure. If it helps.
Yeah, if it helps. Yeah, I mean, honestly, anything that keeps people from like just self-destructing or destructing others' lives or eating meat. Honestly, it'd be cool if like, because I mean now like Taco Bell's like someone just said they're paying $17 an hour. I've seen like $14 an hour. It'd be cool if like the price just went up so much that people no longer saw fast food as like a cheap, easy option, but it became like as expensive.
But why is it cheap?
Well, it's cheap because it's cheap labor and shitty meat and stuff. But like what I'm saying is, what if the labor went up enough that it was in line with like a better kind of food that was like more local or better?
Mm-hmm.
Then people would probably choose it way less. Like already, it's not that cheap. If you actually go get a full meal at like Taco Bell, you're spending like as much money as a sushi burrito or like.
Not if you're ordering off the dollar menu.
Yeah, that's a mess.
Yeah, it makes you kind of wonder. Wait, how is this only $1?
Well, it's probably comforting to know that it's not like, isn't Taco Bell not even considered meat because it's so much like soy and
I don't know what's in that
filler.
stuff,
It has like a lot of soy and filler to the point where I'm pretty sure they can't call it meat. And maybe that was like in 2009, so like maybe they like radically changed things around. But I'm like, funny thing, that's a good thing, If you really think about it, it's like, cool, it's that much less animal cruelty happening.
Yeah, and I don't believe that Taco Bell really sells good quality meat, and I don't think it really comes from a good.
Talking about this is making me want to Crunchwrap.
Or even Carl's Jr., any fast food restaurant, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 90% of that kind of meat is in our grocery stores, and it's being sold to people, through fast food chains.
How do you live thinking about this all the time, man?
I've only actually really considered this like the past 3 days because I knew we were going to
have... like a hot on your mind kind of topic?
Yeah, this is recent, and
Yeah.
I've never really agreed with fast food. I mean, my parents are health freaks. My dad's vegetarian. My mom's like pescatarian.
Oh, growing up, did you get so much shit for eating any meat?
No, not really. They're just like, you shouldn't eat that stuff. It's really not good for you.
Shouldn't eat that.
Yeah. So I think health.
I don't think it's not good for you. It's not good for the planet for sure, though.
Yeah.
Like I think eating like.
And so it's related to these viruses, though. It's like, this is where all these viruses are coming from.
Yeah.
And so, yes, get your vaccine for sure, but that's only the first step.
What's the last step?
Well, the second step is, don't support that stuff because it's creating disturbances in the world.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing when it comes to, like, I mean, have you ever just, like, considered, I'm not saying this is how it is or how I even believe about it, but, like, in many ways, it's like a flu for that the world's getting, like the planet's getting.
Mother Nature's consequences.
A fire, like a wildfire that's like, hey, maybe overpopulation. You're like packing too many people in, like things are getting too hot, and it's just like everyone's like, well, let's just save everyone, and it's like it might make a worse fire, like a wildfire down the line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm like, man, just as soon as you start being in a packed city for too long, you're like, whoa, this isn't even a big city. We haven't been to Hong Kong or. Like Shenzhen, New York.
Right.
I was in LA for literally 1 week, and I didn't leave my hotel room because I was like, I'd leave and I'd walk down the street. I'm like, what's going? It was Burbank. It was like the nice part of LA, and I'm like, holy shit, people are packed in like rats.
So, what's the correlation?
Not everyone in LA is a rat. I'm not even saying
in
that.
your opinion,
I mean, in terms of like how close people
are to global warming and the meatpacking industry.
People should spread out and just have more localized farming.
Yeah.
And like it should be less like of a monocropping situation, but like if people were kind of like just spread out more so they could have some level of their own animals and like less people around them, so better for mental health. Like what's the real benefit, especially with like working from home? Like, why would someone want to live in a massive city? Because the more that you're in a city, you realize like there's so much stuff to do. It all just costs money. And why do you need that money? Or why do you like you work so much just to make money to go spend stuff?
That's where the jobs are usually.
Yeah, but not anymore. Like all the jobs that like make money tend to be online jobs because they scale better.
Sure.
So it's like maybe manual labor jobs, but like eventually there will be really efficient electric vehicles that cost like very low amounts of money to get you to your job. So it's like, and they drive themselves. So you could hypothetically be like replying to emails and texts while you're getting to your like landscaping job and stuff like that. But I'm like, people just need to spread the fuck out. We are way too close together. Much like if you have like a roommate, even though you're your best friend when you move in, by the time you move out, you kind of fucking hate them, you know? It's
close
like,
quarters can get that way.
Close quarters.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, literally, like, and just on a bigger scale, that's kind of what cities are. It's like people who should be getting along, but really, like, they all have very different religious beliefs. They have very different political beliefs. They have different ideas of how their households should be run. It's like, but they're shoved so close together, you don't even have a yard to go, like, we can't, like, really be, like, we're on the second story. We can kind of, like, hang out naked in our house, but, like, if we were on the first story, you could never hang out naked in your house or like outside in your backyard. And it's like humans were probably meant to like just walk around shirtless or something to some extent. And it's like, no, stay clothed all the time. Someone's always able to see you. That is not like, I mean, people have like video cameras in their own goddamn house now. And I'm like, who would want the concept of being watched that much, you know? As we're on 3 cameras, yeah. I keep it to one room. The rest of the house is for free.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I know, like, someone was like, you guys should get one of those Ring doorbells. I'm like, I don't want to add to the fact that, like, people walking down the street.
Update with an Alexa system.
We have Apple. You should actually see the stereo system when we get out of here. That'll be exciting. Because, I mean, you're a sound guy. Are you, I've had this talk with a couple people. Are you Fidelity or, like, how does it sound and feel kind of person? Like, do you have, like, what studio monitors do you have at your house? That would say a lot to me.
Oh, gosh, I don't know if I want to answer that question. I need to update those.
Really?
But, yeah, man, I think what sounds most natural, and yes, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and
I can tell.
I have a lot of ideas that I've had a hard time even kicking out of the nest at this point, you know, musically.
Yeah. Was it Love Potion number 6 or 7?
Oh, The Potion?
Yeah, The Potion.
Yeah.
Did that song ever come out?
I mean, I have like kind of like a bootleg of it.
See, you gotta like put stuff out, man.
Yeah,
like being a perfectionist is literally like directly contradicting like you as a musician progressing, because like to some extent you gotta kick it out and be like, okay, I can't work on that anymore. It's already out, and then be like, well, what did I learn from it? I'll just take that to the next one, you know.
True, and see how it grows
who am I
too.
to talk? But
see how what people think of it down the line
Yeah.
as well. I mean, I've showed it to a lot of my friends, and they're like, "Wow, dude, that sounds really good." And I'm like,
I liked it,
but it's not good enough.
Yeah, that's
You
bad.
know.
I mean, this obviously like I don't edit it purely because I'm like, oh, do I want to edit out that and then do I want to edit out that pause, and it just goes so deep to the point where I'm like, fuck it. Every episode goes out the next
hey man,
day.
maybe we can work on that together. Maybe you're the person that needs to help me kick it out of the nest.
Just kick it out and you do some level of editing. That'd be so fun. I mean, you played guitar on my album and you played guitar as an outro to the podcast. And what was that recording process like? Wasn't it the most chaotic thing ever?
No, it's great, because if I have somebody that's just like, all right, Alex, you're done, it's out,
done.
and I'm like, fine, there's nothing I can't argue
and
with
it was
that.
random recording. It was like, what's like a chord progression? Solo over it about 20 times.
Yeah.
And I just edit all the pieces of solo that sound good together. Good enough.
Right.
And you just got to roll with it. Because I'm like, especially like acoustically, it can go so deep, especially with like EQing. Like, well, do I want to keep that frequency in there? Does that sound a little boxy there? That's a little tinny. I want to, you know, that drum could just have another layer to it. Maybe it needs like goes so deep that like I have 2 songs that I've spent probably hundreds of hours on that I haven't put out yet because I'm like, went too deep in the hole. And now every time I hear it, I just hear what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
But I loved them when they were like stems. Like they were like literally 8 tracks. Now it's like 30.
Right.
And it's like maybe sounds better, but I enjoy it less. So I'm like going more minimalism with my music taste and my music, like what I'm liking. Like I used to be really into Bon Iver-esque, like really artsy music that's like all these layers. And now I'm like, I want casual listening, you know? Like the person who was on yesterday kept promoting Kanye. Are you a Kanye? What are you a fan of musically?
All sorts of music. I mean, I like everything from rap to folk to...
Britney Spears?
Yeah, sure. I like Britney
Nice.
Spears.
Cool.
Yeah, Britney Spears is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
Really? I
I mean, I'm a 90s kid, man.
Yeah, good point.
You know,
Wait,
so-
how old are you? 28?
28.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think the guest yesterday was 28 too. I think we've had 3 guests that are all 28 now. And I've thought all of them were like 26, like a little bit younger.
You're 26?
24.
24?
Yeah, but Kenzie's 26. So like colloquially, our age is like 25, 26-ish.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, for some reason, anyone who's under like 35, I assume is our age.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if everyone does that. Like, did you assume we were 28?
Well, you're very mature for your age.
That's the
I'd say
beard.
that.
Speaking of, you could grow a massive beard. I don't think
could.
I've ever seen you non-clean shaven though.
I like it clean shaven.
Yeah?
I find beards a little bit uncomfortable for me. They're a bit itchy.
Discomfort. Yeah.
You do?
Gives you something to
No,
scratch.
people have always told me, hey, dude, you look good with facial hair. And I'm like, oh,
You
thanks.
did. I want to see. Do you have any pictures of yourself? No, obviously not right now. It's a completely naked photo, but you just have a little bit of stubble. Yeah, I have one picture. You just show it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I do actually have some photos of me
I would
with
like to
some
see
facial hair
one.
with some scruff.
It's you either
Yeah.
in front of a reservoir that's down, or it's you in a meat aisle, saying no. I'm like, those are the two things that because no one else is sending me pictures of like, hey, look how much of a drought we're in. And I go take a shower, and I'm like, I should feel depressed about you wasting this water right now. But I'm like, it's okay. So like, you're like very tuned into climate change,
Uh-huh.
viruses,
Well, I
meat
have
packing.
to be.
How do you not get depressed, man?
Well, I mean, you just see it for what it is, and you're just like, okay, well, cool. Well, we're making electric cars, and we're trying to steer away from, these global phenomena from happening.
Yeah.
And I just think that there is hope, and you just have to be optimistic and just have faith in humanity.
Right next door
Mhm.
lives Mark Fronmeyer, who's the CEO of Arcimoto, which is those 3-wheel electric vehicles you may have seen around town.
Right, and I've seen you and Kenzie driving them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's right.
So it's funny. So
On
I'm like,
social media, of course.
yeah, we're doing our best to aid in the good direction of
Yeah.
humanity in that way. Because that's like something like, it's so interesting. The more jobs that you look at, that it's like, do I agree with the core ethics of this company? And like some of the jobs I was working on, I'm like, no. And then I'm like, and I'm wasting I'm just like killing myself for not that much money for a company that's actively hurting the planet. Like, I worked at Hop Valley for like a day, and the amount of plastic they used to like wrap these big ass things, I was like, or maybe it's an Nkasi, but some like beer place, I'm like, they're using plastic to package poison, and I'm like, nah, I'm out of here, man. 'Cause I'm like, man, like really though, like if you own a tap house or a brewery, or like not even that's like, I mean, I literally have alcohol right there. Like, I'm not against it in any way, but like being a big proponent of it within a community, you got to understand, like, you are actively creating more people who like maybe are belligerent, yell at people, create broken glass that pops people's bike tires. I'm like, you got to be some level of conscious of like, what are you doing in the planet, you know?
Yeah, conscientiousness is really important. I mean, there's going to be future generations that are going to be, living on this planet even when we've passed.
Yeah,
and I think it's
maybe.
our responsibility to like make the world the best place possible and to teach future generations that, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's funny
You
that
know?
what makes me conscientious is weed. Weed doesn't make me dull. Weed makes me like anxious and be like, oh, I got to fix my life.
It makes
Like,
you anxious?
Yeah, weed
I'm-
is like the one
Yeah.
thing that will make me anxious in life.
Yeah, same here. That's kind of why I stopped doing it.
Yeah. It's like, what the
But
fuck's going
CBD's
on?
cool. I mean, we
CBD is
could
cool.
light one of those up after this if you want. But
Yeah, you don't want to smoke on air?
No, I'm good.
Even though it's 100% CBD.
Is it really 100% CBD?
Yeah, it's like legally, like, no THC. It's under the legal limit. You can even read it. And that's why I offer to all the guests.
Where'd
And
you
that's
get
why I
these
smoke
from?
it. Someone called John Fries, who owns Startups, which is the largest startup
Hey.
helping thing,
0.3% THC.
which is under the legal limit. Total THC is under 3%. But the point is, there's more CBD in it
Under
than
3.
THC. But he has something called Metolius Hemp, and they make these, and they sponsored the show, so I get to smoke these on air with guests, which is enjoyable.
Cool.
So you're saying like a drop of THC would kind of make you a little bit anxious?
No, not really. I don't really like. I mean, I've just smoked so much of it in my life that I just got kind of boring, I guess. I don't know.
I personally, I'm not gonna speak for anyone else. I've been going for the edibles because it's like a smaller come up,
Mhm.
and then but if you overshoot it in terms of you take too much, you're on a ride, like an anxiety ride for too long, and I gotta like take something to like come down. Alcohol doesn't even help with anxiety. Alcohol just makes me like more loose with it, you know?
I think alcohol just kind of makes you like kind of careless.
I'm gonna take a shot.
So
I
Speaking
got it
of,
for the first time yesterday, and I did. Do you want a shot by chance?
what is that?
It's Krakatoa, Kraken. It's spiced rum.
I'll try a little bit.
Cool.
It's pretty good.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not bad.
I had a vodka last show, and when the guest left, he just bought the rest of the bottle from me. So, because I bought vodka and rum, and he's like, "Can I just take this?" And I'm like, "Do you want to pour your own? I don't want to create your shot for you." I just make it way too much. Nice.
Give it a little
Tiny.
taste.
You're literally giving it a taster test.
Yeah.
I should get actual shot glasses. Like, that's probably a shot and a half.
That's a party shot.
That's a party shot. That's a fun way of thinking about it. That's a party shot. Yeah. Would it gas you out if I lit up a joint?
No,
here?
you're fine,
Oh,
dude.
dope.
It's your
I'm gonna
show.
open a window, light a joint, chilling.
Yep, that's the Kraken, all right.
That's the cracking. Because I also have another guest coming over like 2 hours after you leave. Kenzie and I are gonna. So there's a coat of epoxy over this table, and I still had some of it left over. Kenzie got an awesome plant. Oh, it smells like alcohol. An awesome plant hanger, and so we're making tables, and we're gonna go coat it with epoxy. And I felt like we were gonna do something else important, make yumbles. We're gonna eat some food and make a table between guests, which is exciting. And I don't know how are you very COVID conscious even with the vaccine, or do you feel pretty safe?
Well, I'm gonna get my booster here pretty soon.
Nice.
Whenever that is, within the next like 30 days or so.
Wow.
Especially before I go to U of O, because
Pfizer or Moderna?
Moderna.
Nice.
That's what I got. What
Moderna
about
gang.
you?
That's what Kenzie is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just when they came out, I was just like, sign me up for the first shot I can possibly get. I didn't really make a decision. It was just kind of like went down to Bi-Mart, and I was just like, all right,
give it.
shoot me up.
I would specifically not get Pfizer. Like, I really morally am against that as like company. Like, okay.
I know they're RNA based.
Yeah, they're almost the same.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is like, if you think about it, in many ways, Pfizer could have been paying for like the government, like all these things to like promote people to get the vaccine, so they get more money to promote it more. Much like a friend who was like, I watch Fox News, but I'm not supporting them. Like, by being a viewer, you're giving them ad money.
True.
So you are supporting them to then therefore brainwash you even more, like
Or
CNN or
you
whatever.
go on YouTube and watch clips of different perspectives. I think is what your friend is doing. Is he's just looking for.
He said he watches CNN.
He wants
and
to see
Fox.
both sides of the debate, but I think Fox News is a bunch of bullshit.
And all news is bullshit, and then it's all just divisive. And he's like, I want it to be less divisive. I'm like, watch it less, and it'll exist less. And that's the same with like just some evil companies. Like, I have nothing against Moderna. They're a new company. I don't know how much to trust them or whatever. But Pfizer specifically has done some like shady stuff where I'm like, why would I want to like help that company exist? Honestly, I'd get Johnson & Johnson, but then everyone says that one has the most wrong with it, you know?
Yeah, they had to do a recall with the Johnson & Johnson, I believe. So, yeah.
Spooky stuff out there, man. Yeah,
Strange
that's actually
times
not that bad.
for sure.
I tried whiskey for the first time, I want to say 3 or 4 days ago. Probably 6 or 7 days ago. And I probably had, like 10 shots, Kenzie? 7. And I'd never drank whiskey.
Tiger.
And I almost never drink. That's why it's like, I think I drank 2 or 3 shots on the last show. I was fucked up, dude. Like, I literally almost couldn't even see straight. And right when I came home, we were taking Juuls at the time. So I, like, had nicotine. And I was just like... And I'm like, Kenzie, how long does it take like for the world to just like stop moving left constantly? And she's like, it turns right to her, and I'm like, it's turning left to me.
Oh man,
she cooked me food. She was literally an angel, and I was like,
I don't drink anymore.
You stop?
For the most part, I'll have a little bit every now and again, but
yeah, I feel that for sure. I've taken breaks as well.
it's just poison, and I hate how it tastes. I'm like, why would I drink this? It tastes horrible.
Right. I mean, your body reaches a
it gives you the
toxicity
dopamine
that I mean, I've been on some camping trips and probably a little dehydrated, too much sun exposure, and get back, you're like, man, I need an IV, and I really need to like reconsider how much alcohol I'm actually consuming.
Yeah, waking up feeling dehydrated, like the pounding in your head, and you even have water nearby, but you're literally too sleepy or bad feeling to reach over and drink water. So you just lay there and you're like, please go back to sleep.
Yeah, for me, if I've had too much, if I've had a bit to drink, I just pound water before I go to bed, and I feel like that definitely helps me.
Salt helps me a ton because last night I was feeling like really shitty after the show just because of drinking a little bit. Yeah, like literally it was like late last night. I drank some vodka and he drank some Kraken and vodka, and I drank like a teaspoon of salt and some magnesium in water. I woke up with nothing bad whatsoever. So I'm excited. I might start drinking one shot at the beginning of every episode if the guest drinks it with me.
Yeah, I haven't had any liquor for like the last 2 months.
Nice. That's a good place
I've
to
just
be.
been
You're a
doing
raging
beer.
alcoholic, right? I'm kidding.
No.
One of the guests, I think the first guest back from the break, he's like, I've been becoming alcoholic during COVID. 'Cause it just gets, like, why wouldn't you? Like if you, like, just live with another dude or you're just, like, chilling just with friends playing video games and, like, works really easy. Like, he has his own business. I'm like, why wouldn't you just chill and, like, take some sort of drug?
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol's just not the one to take. Has
Right.
such a downside. Holy cow.
Do you mind
For
if
me
I take a
personally,
drag of that, actually?
You can literally have as much as you want.
No,
right?
no, not that. The
Oh, yeah.
CBD joint there.
Absolutely.
Cool. I'm curious.
I'm curious, when you smoked weed, did you take a lot of joints or, like, bong guy or dab pen guy? All of it.
The last two.
Nice.
I never really liked a lot of weed at one time, again,
Yeah.
because it's just like, I don't like getting like out of control.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, probably bong hits and
How was it for CBD? Because it has keef on one side and CBD isolate on the other. So it's like extra CBD'd.
yeah.
To the point where I'm like, I don't really notice any THC from it. And I'm very sensitive to it. Like the weed gummies,
Mm-hmm.
they come in like squares of 10 milligrams. And I have to cut it into 1 milligram. And then like maybe I can take 2 or 3 of them max.
And kind of feel it out from there.
Fucked
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Oh,
man.
3 or 4, like less than half a weed gummy gets me messed up to the point where I haven't even taken 10 milligrams, I don't think. Because I'm like, dude, that would like send me on 5 hours of like, I got to fix everything in my life. But for some reason, I'm a little bit too inebriated to do anything, which causes more anxiety. I'm like, but like a low level, like 1 to 2 milligrams of weed, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's like playing jazz with my life. I'm like, I'll clean up that. I'll do some dishes. I'll like, set up this and that. But how was it? It tastes just kind of like a joint.
Tastes really good. That's another thing I want to add on is that, you know, with all this crazy, chaotic stuff going on in the world with, you know, pandemics and you know, unaffordable housing, you have a lot of homeless people that are kind of coming here because they're safe. You know, it's kind of, it's really important to have a space that when you get home at the end of the day, that you can just be
jail.
like,
I'm kidding.
that you can just really kind of sort through your thoughts and just kind of stop any chatter that's going on in your head.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's easy to get all like kind of wound up from the day. There's so much stuff going on. It's really stimulating. And I think, yeah, just like coming back to like a nice, you know, relaxing environment just to...
Keep pointing at a bunch of plants.
Yeah, well, they are beautiful after all. I do like your plants.
I water them with semen. I don't. That's why they're so relaxing.
Damn, Tiger.
No, I've actually had that garden coming along with me. So I've known Kinsey like 5 years, and I had it for about 3 or 4 years before. So I've had some of the plants in that garden for about a decade, and they're still alive.
Yeah, they're looking good, man.
Crazy. Some of them aren't that happy. They need fertilizer. Like that's actually a tiny little mini bonsai San Pedro, which is what mescaline comes from, which is the same thing as peyote, or similar thing as peyote, slightly different, analogous though. So obviously it'll never create enough to take any, but it's kind of fun looking, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a little mini cactus.
Yeah, I love plants, man.
Oh yeah, name every plant.
No.
are you a real plant fan? No, and then that one's a coffee plant, which is my most common gifted away plant. Because people lose their mind when you give them a coffee plant. They're like, no way. And I'm like, it's never made coffee beans for me.
Dude, I just went to Hawaii and like...
Which island?
Molokai.
That's like the chillest,
Yeah, it's
calmest,
the most native...
most native...
most untouristy
yes,
island.
we wanted to go there, but plane tickets to Kauai were half as much as to Molokai. Molokai was $600 back and forth.
Oh, it's beautiful out
Kauai
over
was
there.
$300
It's a
back
really
and forth.
interesting island. I mean, one end of the island is like completely volcanic.
Is there like one stoplight there or like one red light there?
There are no traffic lights there.
Yeah.
There's just stop signs.
What?
Whoa.
That's
Yeah.
what the person pitched to me. Like she lived there.
Who's that?
I saw this girl on the way back from the LA trip. And she was at the airport. She was like, yeah, I'm heading back to my home in Molokai. And I work on Maui. I take one of like the $50 planes every day or something like that. And she works at the hospital. And she's like, yeah, you should come here. And then when I looked up tickets, Kauai was literally half as expensive. So we went to Kauai, which was also one of the less
I haven't been to
popular ones.
Kauai. I'd like to go sometime.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
But we want to go to Molokai next. How was it?
Oh, dude, it's beautiful. It's really fascinating island. I mean, one end is entirely volcanic. The beach on the west side is pretty like intense. I mean, the waves that are pretty big.
Yeah.
But you get out past the break and it's really good swimming. And then the east
Wait,
end of
how
the
far
island.
out are you if you're past the breaks? You're like 50
Oh no, I
yards
mean
out?
the wave. breaks right on the beach.
Oh, okay.
So you just get out past that and you just kind of
past
float
like
around
the
or whatever.
white top, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so the east end is like all like tropical jungle, like really cool, like all the vines and
It's like an hour from side to side.
About
Nice.
about
Kauai was
45
like
to
2
an hour.
hours from top to bottom.
Really?
Yeah, so if you're in the middle, you can get any part of the island in 1 hour. There's one highway. But
Yeah.
there's like stop
2
signs.
lanes.
Yeah, 2 lanes.
Is that the 5?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the joke, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah,
That they
it-
have the Interstate 5, I believe, there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's literally like, okay, where do you want to go? It's 2 hours, and you can literally get from one aisle all the way to the other. And we went almost everywhere except the most famous part of Kauai, which is the
Yeah.
northern shore,
Napali.
the Naipali coastline. We didn't
Yeah.
go, and we went in the winter in like December. So the
It's so
waves are
cool.
really like in the summer. Apparently, it's flat, and you can even just paddleboard out and see it from the outside. It was so wavy.
It was treacherous.
It was
like
treacherous.
the waves were treacherous.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We spent one night on the North Shore, and the winds were so strong, the rain was so strong, and we spent the rest on the South Shore because it's like radically different. Much like you're saying, west
Yeah.
and east are different. It's like that's the cool part of the island. It's like literally like different biomes, and like Minecraft when you see like a desert and then like this, it's like oh, this island's fucking sick.
Yeah, so I went on this cultural hike in Halawa Valley, and so it's home to, the indigenous Hawaiians, that, the natives there, and they have taro patches, and so they basically use the gradient of the land to grow their own food.
Nice.
And it's just really pretty, and they have this goat there. It's really cute. Just eats grass all day.
You hike or surf or swim or like what do you mostly do? How long were you there for?
I love surfing.
Nice.
I went snorkeling. I wanted to get a ferry over to Maui to go surfing, but the ferry broke down apparently, and they didn't replace it. So my only other option was getting
The $50 plane ticket.
I think it was even more than that, actually, to tell you the
yeah.
truth, at least on Molokai. So,
It
and I was
probably
with
totally
family,
could.
so I was just
It's like a little 6-seater plane. Kenzie and I almost
Yeah.
island hopped, and then we're like, do we really trust like a prop plane with 6 seats that costs like $50 or $60? And we're like, let's stay here. We'll stay here.
We have enough to do.
We have enough to
Yeah.
do. But we definitely want to go to a different island next time we go. Which, when will we get the chance with COVID? It's crazy.
yeah.
Well, and we camped.
We
So
camped.
Oh, you did?
that
Yeah.
was like another element of it that was really fun.
yeah.
But
10
with
days.
COVID, it's like really sketchy. I'm like, are we gonna lose housing? Like that's what made it affordable. Is like our lodging was $3 a night, not $200 for a hotel
Yeah, the
room.
Hawaiians got hit hard with that.
Hard.
You know,
I
because
bet.
there's a lot of seniors that live there.
Yeah.
And so they seem really spooked about, they made sure that everybody was vaccinated. They had their vaccination cards. They, had their contact tracing information into this. Did you have to do that? It was like a...
We went in 2019.
Oh, you went in 2019.
And we
COVID.
spent $1,200 each, including plane ticket, rental car, all food, all drinks, all excursions, and everything for 10 days. So it was like, that was a really inexpensive trip, which was really nice.
Yeah, it's hard to travel these days, man. I mean, I want to go and connect with family back over in England, but I don't really know when that's
Whoa,
going to
you've been to
happen.
England?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dope.
Yeah.
How's that, man?
It's great. I mean, I haven't been in ages. I mainly went as a kid,
totally.
teens and...
Isn't that so weird? Like, I went to Mexico as a bunch as a kid, and now I never travel. It's like parents, like, takes kids on a bunch of adventures. Like, you're not going to remember this whatsoever. Let's go have
Yeah.
fun. It's like, what?
Well, that's the benefits of having, foreign family members. You kind of already have a place to stay, and you don't have to really deal with any other accommodations.
Yeah. Are you, like, proper English? You almost have, like, a Beatles look to you.
My mother's English, and my father's half English. That makes me 3/4 English.
Nice.
So...
Yes.
Nice. That's a
So,
yes.
yes.
What's the
Thank you,
last
Kenzie.
quarter?
What?
Last quarter?
Gosh, probably like Irish and...
So pretty much English.
Yeah, just pretty much European straight
That's fine.
up.
So they
Yeah.
like you're like a first generation, or like they've just like been here a long time. Like were your parents like just moved
My
here from
mother was
England?
first generation to come to the States.
Wow.
So she moved here when she was 21.
That's wild. Does
Yeah.
she bore you with stories all the time about England?
Doesn't bore me at all.
Really?
No, she has some great stories about England.
As soon as anyone
sure she's
past
got more.
50 years old starts talking, I just zone out. I'm kidding. No, they obviously have very wonderful stories. But like
Yeah.
earlier you said when you come home from work you have like a lot of things on your mind, which means you have like an internal monologue. You don't have like very vivid pictures in your mind, or like do you have both?
I think we all have an internal monologue of some kind.
No, some people have none. They just have really vivid photos. And other
Really?
people have really vivid internal monologues with no photos. And then there's like a middle ground where you have like
I think
some...
I'm probably both.
You're both. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I have a bit of a photographic memory too. so-
wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. So like when someone like describes, like the guest yesterday was trying to explain his house layout, and he's like, and then imagine this wall back that much, and then it goes left. And I have like no imagery for that sort of thing, like spatial imagery. Like some people can like rotate cubes in their mind. Like that's like a really example of like hyperphantasia, is you can literally like imagine a cube and then imagine it rotate in your mind. And I'm like, I can't even imagine. Like if I'm not looking at Kenzie, it's really maybe faint, but it's like hard for me to imagine her face, much less rotating a cube kind of thing. So it's like, it's interesting to know that the spectrum in terms of like, where does your mind think? Some people think it's how you're born. Other people are kind of like thinking it's like, if you grew up and your first skill was like drawing, you probably have a lot better photographic memory. Whereas like your first things, talking to people or like playing guitar, you probably have like different, I'm like, it's crazy what sport you get your kid into probably impacts them for literally the rest of their life in terms of how they think.
I played all the sports when I was a kid. I think the only thing I didn't touch was football.
Football, soccer? I'm kidding.
Yeah, I played soccer. I just got fed up with getting kicked in the shins, so I stopped.
Oh, yeah. That's what shin guards are for, bro.
Yeah. So.
If I have a guitar in here, and if you have a guitar, how long would it take if I just like have a really basic chord progression for you to jam on it? Could you do it quickly, or would that be putting you two on the spot?
I could attempt it.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be fun. Okay.
Why not?
I'll do it on. I'll go grab 2 guitars. Have fun, you guys.
That's so funny. Well, nice.
So you enjoying the new place?
Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
I have this really nice Epson, and I'll give you my shitty Taylor.
Okay. Hey, Taylor's not too bad.
Nice. Is it in tune? Pretty good. Fine. Probably stay on 3 the whole time. Do you have like a specific key, or you're just kind of good in anything?
Just go for it, man.
For people curious at all, that's how I got the outro to the first 113 episodes. Literally just came up with a really basic like 4-chord couple thing progression, and then I'm like, hey, do that over it like something like 30 times. And then I know it's kind of hard to get in place. If you see there's like a knob right here, and you literally can't twist it past that. See this side, you can twist all the way.
Oh yeah.
How whack is that? And I literally the guest gets the harder mic to like kind of angle at them.
Yeah.
So, sorry for that, man. You can just throw that wherever. It's literally meaningless. I'm kidding. No, I had that guitar. Some old lady was selling a Taylor guitar for like $200 on Craigslist.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, I'm like, I'll nab that up. And it's like, really, what's the difference? Because, like, once you get to the 314 or something, it has the solid wood. It's not the laminate front. And then past that, it seems like to just have, like, nice, like, inlays, and the price goes way up. So, I'm like, I'll get the cheapest, like, good-sounding one. Do you even tell it... Honestly,
nylon string, right?
Yeah, this is what Kenzie and I've been playing on to like learn. We're like learning Cigarette Daydreams, like. Obviously, horrible because I'm high and drunk.
Sounds great.
But anyways, that guitar sounds so nice, and then actually hearing it next to a metal string, I'm like, oh man, that sounds like garbage now. Perspective in terms of sound is so strange. Mm-hmm. Like. Once you hear the sound system, it sounds so good for a while, and then it just sounds like anything. Like, eventually sound systems all kind of like level out to be this like super normal level where you're like, it all sounds the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real like that much better or worse in terms of sound systems. But you never answered what sound system do you have for music at home?
Well, I really want to upgrade my sound system, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But I've been using Bose speakers, and they're just too bass heavy. Yeah, I know. Well, you know, they're not cheap, so.
Yeah.
So that's why I have you, so I can bring my guitar over and we can collaborate on your sound system instead.
Fun.
How does that sound?
I'd like that. More or less, I just boo Bose as a company because I'm pretty sure like everyone has like an acronym for like buy.
They're kind of overrated.
BOSE, buy other sound equipment. Like literally, like everyone's like they sound really good, but like they're just like crank the bass and stuff. Honestly, I literally have an Apple sound system. I'm not like in any way like a person, but like so I went through KRKs, like I had KRK 5s, and then I got
the Rockets.
Yeah, and
those
then I got
cool.
the 10-inch KRKs where they're like big subwoofers, and then at a certain point I'm like, it sounds good in one place, and I almost went with the Yamahas, but I'm like KRKs because I want like heavy bass, and then it only sounded good in one place in the room. It had to go through an audio interface. And then at a certain point, I'm like, I just want smart speakers. Like, that can just, like, place wherever in the house. Mm-hmm. So it's really not that nice of a sound system, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by it. And
I want to get some Yamaha speakers, actually.
HS5s, HS7s, I think,
yeah, the HS5s, like, they're white,
yeah,
the
that's
white
what I would have
ones.
expected you to have, by the way. This whole time when I was saying
it's what I want, Tiger, so.
Yeah, I get what it's like. It's hard to justify, should I spend $1,000 on speakers? And then you're like... Because the Yamahas, I think like the HS5s like roughly like $400 or something each, and it's like, does it sound that much better than what I currently have? I went through all of this, and then I ended up on like just decently priced smart speakers because the KRK 10 inches were $500, and I bought them with the full plan to return them. During COVID, my like fun activity was literally purchasing really expensive items and then returning it within the month for Amazon.
Really?
Like, I got a notice to my account that is like, you can't do this anymore, or we're going to shut your account down. Like, there's something called like an OP1. Have you heard of that? Where it's like it's a built-in tape recorder kind of thing. It's like I'll have to look it up. An OP1, if anyone looks it up. They're these dope things. $1,300. Like, when I got my stimulus money, I literally am like, okay, well, I don't lose anything if I spend it, return it, spend it, return it. So I did it with like 4 or 5 really expensive items. And then I ended up just spending on like regular, like, groceries and stuff like that. But I'm like, man, I had a blast with that for about a month. I did.
You know, so there you go.
And fuck Amazon. I mean, not fuck Amazon. We technically own stock in Amazon. Go Amazon. Kill all small businesses. That's the way we're trying to head the world in. Do you take it that far? Do you not shop on Amazon?
I don't like online shopping, no.
Nice. You're like small business all the way.
Yeah.
No meat.
I mean, I worked for Guitar Center for a while.
You're too ethical of a person, man. I got to tell you.
And I have friends who are like, where do these values come from? Like, they come from me. Okay,
nice.
They come from me.
They come from taking a lot of
weed
and being
from
really
anywhere
anxious.
else.
Yeah. But anyways, man, thank you very much for coming on the show. This was an absolute blast. You just opened Liquid Death for the first time. We're not sponsored by them. Tasty for just regular carbonated water.
Yeah, it is.
And I have steel. Sparkling and steel, baby.
And thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. This was a joy. Take care. Lots of love. Do you have anything you want to plug? You might want to put this closer while you plug it. Like your Twitter or your... OnlyFans account or your anything in specific? I'm kidding. For everyone listening.
No, not really. No.
Cool.
It was a pleasure coming on the show and contributing to this.
It's a joy. Yeah. You contributed more than almost any guest because you were the outro. I don't have any more outros or intro music.
We'll have to work on some more, man.
Be fun. Yeah. You can get copyright music even if it's your own and like weird stuff like that. So I'm like, no music. It cuts straight into the voice and cuts straight out after. So no more music. But I appreciate you playing on my album. That was a massive help. You have a solo. You have multiple solos on the album, and you also played the outro music. Thank you for everything you've done, man. It's been a joy to meet you and get to know you. Glad we live in the same place.
Good catching up.
Yeah. All right, and we're out. Hit the gong, Kenzie.
Oh. I'm late on my.
Peace. She has one job.
Peace.
No, I'm kidding. She has 5. Bye, everyone. Dope.